$75,000 for your mother-in-law's legal trouble? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. My son looked me dead in the eye and said, "It would really help Melissa feel better. You always said family matters most, right?" That was the moment I realized something was deeply wrong. It wasn't just the money. It was the way he looked at me, like I was a bank account, not his mother. A month before, he forgot my 70th birthday. Said they were cutting back. The next week, he posted photos from a Paris vacation. It wasn't just betrayal. It was erasure. And that's when I decided, if they wanted to pretend I didn't exist, I'd show them just how wrong they were. My name is Ruth Adams. I'm 70 years old, a retired librarian, a widow for nearly a decade. I live alone in a modest little house tucked away in a quiet corner of Portland. It's not much, but it's mine. My days are simple. I tend to my dahlias, sip chamomile tea, and lose myself in mystery novels where justice, at least in fiction, always finds its way home. And up until a few years ago, I had my son, Eric. Eric was the kind of boy who never forgot my birthday. He'd call every Sunday like clockwork, even when he was busy with med school or buried under internships. He made me feel like I still mattered, like I wasn't just fading into the wallpaper of his life. Then came Vanessa. She was beautiful, slick, polished, the kind of woman who walked into a room like she owned it. A marketing executive who knew how to dress like she belonged in a magazine spread. I smiled at their wedding, bit my tongue when she insisted on white orchids instead of gardenias. Told myself, she's his choice, not yours. Be kind. But kindness only takes you so far. Within months of their marriage, Eric's weekly calls became monthly texts, short, clipped, polite. "Can't talk now, Mom. Busy." They stopped visiting altogether. I tried not to take it personally, told myself it was just life, just marriage, just change. Then came Lorraine, Vanessa's mother. Glamorous, loud, always talking about Tuscany or Tulum or Thailand, depending on what week it was. She wore designer sunglasses indoors and called everyone darling, like she was auditioning for a role no one offered. But what unsettled me wasn't her presence. It was her closeness. Eric started referring to her as Mom, half joking, half not. At Thanksgiving, she sat at the head of the table while I ended up near the kitchen. She corrected me when I passed the wrong fork, called my cooking quaint. I felt like a guest in my own family. Still, I held my tongue, because that's what mothers do. We give grace, even when it hurts. But there was a storm building. Not loud, not thunderous, just a steady, creeping pressure in my chest. A gut feeling I couldn't shake, that something deeper was wrong. That I was no longer just being pushed aside. I was being replaced. And I was about to find out just how disposable they thought I was. But they forgot one thing about quiet storms. They don't announce their arrival. They just destroy everything in their path when the time is right. It didn't all come crashing down at once. No, it started like water dripping on stone, slow, steady, easy to ignore, until the crack runs deep and the whole thing splits apart. First came the forgotten birthday. My 69th. No call. Just a late text the next morning. "Sorry, Mom. Crazy day yesterday. Hope you had fun." I shrugged it off. People get busy. I baked myself a little lemon cake and tried to laugh about it. Then came Christmas. They didn't even pretend to come. "We're flying to Aspen with friends. We'll FaceTime," they said. They never did. Still, I made excuses for them. That's what mothers do. We rationalize our children's indifference because the truth is just too painful to swallow. But nothing prepared me for my 70th birthday. A milestone. A moment. A number that feels like a border between still young enough and old enough to be invisible. And what did I get? A text. Happy birthday, Mom. Times are tight. Love you. That was it. No call. No card. No visit. Not even a generic bouquet from a delivery service. My hands trembled holding that phone. Not from anger, yet, but from disbelief, confusion, sadness that curled itself around my ribcage and settled in for a stay. I was still holding on to hope, until that night. Scrolling through Instagram, yes, I have one, even if I barely use it, I saw it. Vanessa, holding a glass of champagne on a rooftop bar in San Francisco. Sparkling dress. Flashy earrings. Lorraine was in the comments, a perfect night with the perfect daughter. Then came more tags. Lorraine at a boutique in Paris. Vanessa in a hotel suite with gold faucets and floor-length mirrors. And there, barely in the frame, was Eric, laughing in the background with a champagne flute in hand. The caption, "Cutting back never looked so good." I stared at that picture until the screen blurred. Cutting back. That's what they told me. That's why they didn't visit. That's why I got a text instead of a hug. Cutting back. I didn't sleep that night. I kept seeing their smiling faces. The clink of glasses I wasn't invited to. The glittering life I was apparently too inconvenient for. But it didn't end there. A week later, Eric called. Voice smooth. Almost rehearsed. "Mom, I know this is a big ask, but Vanessa's mom is going through something complicated. Legal stuff from her divorce. It's messy, and she doesn't want to go public. She could really use a lifeline. 75,000. Just to help her stay afloat." I almost dropped the phone. He was asking me, his mother, who clips coupons and reuses tea bags, to give her $75,000? He said I could take it out of the inheritance early if it made me feel better. I said I'd think about it, but I didn't need time to think. I needed time to investigate. Something about this didn't add up. The trips, the clothes, the constant emergencies, and the fact that she, Lorraine, had somehow inserted herself into every aspect of my son's life and was now digging into mine. So I called in a favor. An old friend from the library days. Someone with experience in digital research and a few friends in places that still wear government badges. What I found would change everything. I wasn't angry anymore. I was clear. Anger burns fast and loud. But clarity, that's slow. It sharpens. It builds until it slices through all the noise. And that's what I needed now. Not noise, not revenge fantasies, strategy. So I called Helen. Helen was one of my oldest friends. She used to be a forensic bookkeeper before retiring. The kind of woman who could smell a financial lie a mile away. She didn't ask questions when I called, just said, "Come over. Bring tea." For the next 2 weeks, we combed through every trace of Lorraine's life we could find online. It wasn't difficult, surprisingly. People like Lorraine always underestimate women like us. They think age dulls the mind. They forget we come from a generation that knew how to keep records, how to file things properly, how to track patterns in library cards, in census data, in microfiche. We dug into public records, old property listings, LLC registrations. And what we found. Lorraine had filed for bankruptcy 6 months earlier, right before her luxury Paris trip. She claimed she was financially destitute, couldn't work, had no assets. But Helen found 3 luxury condos, each tucked under different shell corporations tied to her name and social security number. All in Scottsdale and Phoenix. All fully furnished. All rented out as executive getaways. That wasn't all. She ran an online boutique, Verve and Velvet, selling high-end accessories. The kind of place influencers tagged on Instagram. According to sales data Helen traced through public affiliate tracking, she made over $120,000 last year, quietly, under a business manager's name. But Lorraine was in every product photo. She even had a bio hidden in the site footer, designed by Lorraine, a woman who rebuilt her empire from scratch. And the cherry on top? A flyer Helen found on Eventbrite. Lorraine was a keynote speaker at a Wealth Secrets for Women Over 50 seminar in Scottsdale, set to teach attendees how to protect assets during litigation and create off-grid financial independence. We had the receipts. Literally. Screenshots. Property records. Archived web pages. Even a cached version of a vacation booking calendar where her Paris dates lined up exactly with the week Eric told me she was in legal mediation. It was one thing to lie to me, but to lie to the government? That's when I made another call. To someone I hadn't spoken to in years, Donna Garcia, now an agent with the IRS Criminal Investigations Division. We'd once worked together on a community tax literacy project at the library. I helped her find rare case law articles. She told me, "If you ever need me, I owe you." Well, I needed her. I packaged everything, put it in a secure drive, mailed it discreetly to her office under a neutral sender. No drama, no note, just the truth, cataloged, cross-referenced, and dated. And then I waited. Not for them. For me. I didn't tell Eric. I didn't confront Lorraine. I didn't rage or plead or cry. Instead, I cleaned out my kitchen cabinets, donated old clothes, took a deep breath, because I knew something they didn't. The reckoning had already begun, and they wouldn't see it coming. I didn't confront Eric. Not yet. There was no victory in screaming at someone too blind or too comfortable to care. Instead, I sent a brief text. "I'm sorry, Eric. I'm not in a position to help right now. Hope things work out." No accusations. No explanations. Just a locked door where a vault used to be. A week later, the phone rang. Eric, breathless. "Mom, something's wrong. Lorraine's accounts are frozen. She says someone tipped off the IRS. She's freaking out." I clutched my mug with one hand, steady as steel. "Oh dear," I said softly. "That does sound serious." He kept talking, but I only half listened. My mind was replaying Donna's last message. "Your file was airtight. We've opened a formal investigation. I can't promise you updates, but I will say, you've done a good thing, Ruth." Behind the scenes, Lorraine's life began to cave in. The audit moved fast. Faster than I expected. Apparently, her 2019 tax filings raised enough red flags to light up a runway. Her boutique's payment processor froze transactions. One of her shell corporations was traced back to a fraudulent bankruptcy claim. Her seminar gig? Cancelled. The flyer was taken down. Her face erased. Word got around. Quietly but efficiently. Vanessa's voice disappeared from social media. Her hashtag power couple reels vanished. The curated dinners, the champagne stories, gone. I imagined the tension in their apartment thickening by the day. And then, on a Thursday night, Eric showed up at my door. No call. No warning. Just a knock I hadn't heard in months. I opened the door slowly. He looked hollow. "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside. He stood in the middle of my living room like a stranger in someone else's memory. His hands trembled slightly as he rubbed them together. "I need to know," he finally said. "Did you report Lorraine?" I looked at him for a long time. Then I said, "Do you think I'd report someone without a reason?" He stared at the floor. "She said she was ruined. That they might press charges. Vanessa's blaming me for trusting her. She's furious." I waited. Then he looked up. Why didn't you come to me? I almost laughed, but there was no humor left in it. I did, Eric. 4 years. You just weren't listening. I wasn't your mother anymore. I was your backup wallet. He flinched. You asked me to help a woman you barely know, while ignoring the woman who raised you. You chose convenience over truth. Silence. Did you do it? He asked again. I met his eyes. I did the right thing. Whether you see it now or not is up to you. He left without another word. But as the door clicked shut, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt powerful, because for the first time in years, I hadn't begged to be believed. I had acted, and the fallout, that wasn't my burden anymore. You knew, didn't you? Eric said again, his voice quieter this time, more accusation than question. I didn't answer with words, just stood, walked to the kitchen drawer, and retrieved the manila folder I had kept sealed for weeks. I slid it across the table with calm hands, though my heart beat like a distant drum. Open it. He did. Page by page, truth replaced denial. Lorraine's multiple shell corporations. Her luxury condo purchases in Scottsdale and Miami. The Shopify analytics showing her online boutique pulling in over $20,000 a month. Photos of her on a yacht the same week she filed for bankruptcy. And the bank transfers, some of them from Eric's joint account with Vanessa. He kept flipping until his hand slowed, and then he just sat there, staring. This can't be. His voice cracked. She told us she needed help. She didn't need help, Eric. She needed cover, and you were giving it to her, willingly. He finally looked up, the mask of certainty slipping from his face. Why would you do this? I leaned forward. My voice didn't shake. Because you were about to go down with her. And I wasn't going to bury my only son next to my husband, both of you taken by lies. He winced, the truth landing like a fist. I may be a retired librarian, Eric, I said softly, but I've read enough to know how this story ends. You'd lose everything. Your credit, your job, maybe even your freedom. And she'd vanish to another state, another scheme. He dropped his face into his hands. I didn't see it. I didn't want to. No, I said. You didn't. And that's what she counted on. We sat in silence, long enough to hear the tick of the wall clock, the hum of the refrigerator. And in that silence, I felt something strange and foreign. Peace. Not victory. Not vindication. Just peace. For the first time in years, I wasn't trying to fix everything with kindness, with patience, with forgiveness I hadn't even been asked for. I had acted. Decisively. Quietly. Without fanfare. Eric eventually stood. He didn't say thank you. Didn't apologize. But he hugged me. Just once. Brief and tight, like something might snap if it lasted too long. Then he left. Days passed. The investigation deepened. Lorraine was indicted on multiple charges: fraud, tax evasion, bankruptcy abuse. Vanessa's social media went dark. Word spread quietly in their circle. No police at the door, no flashing lights, but the consequences were real. I got a card in the mail a week later. No return address. Just a simple handwritten message. I'm sorry, Mom. You saved me. I didn't deserve it. But thank you. Signed, Eric. I placed the card in my kitchen drawer, beside my gardening gloves and spare keys. I didn't need him to say it in person. I just needed him to see it. And now, I was free. Free from needing to be needed. Free from the guilt of letting go. Free to live, not in the shadow of someone else's choices, but in the light of my own. Sometimes, the greatest act of love is doing what no one expects, standing firm, speaking truth, and refusing to be used, even by the people you love most. Justice doesn't always come with drama or noise. Sometimes it arrives softly, through a paper trail, a quiet decision, a folded note in a drawer. If you've ever been made to feel small, invisible, or dispensable, know this: you still hold power. Real power. The kind that reclaims dignity, exposes lies, and restores balance. Have you ever had to choose truth over peace? Share your story below. And if this story spoke to you, hit subscribe, because here, quiet strength writes the loudest endings.